I need y'all to join me for a second. Raise your fist like this. I need a moment of silence, 20 seconds for Stephen Clark, for Stephen Zoe. Peace, thank you. So again, my name is Nino Brown. I'm an organizer, and I teach 5th grade in Dorchester. Peace and blessings, friends, family. Thank you for being here. I teach in Dorchester at the Oliver Wendell Holmes School, and all of my students come from working class communities that are plagued by gun violence. Me and my people, oppressed people, colonized people, are sick and tired of being ignored by those who are in power. We are sick of the rampant violence. We are sick of the rampant violence, the gun violence that disproportionately affects communities of color. But we must ask ourselves, why? What is the root cause of this terror? So, we already know that black people, people of color, violence is nothing new in this country to us. And it is unfortunate that it took such a tragic incident for us to have this dialogue. But now it is our duty to fight, and it is our duty to win, because our future depends on it. The greater Boston area is a highly segregated area, fraught with the racist history of redlining and systematically concentrating poor and working class people of color into neighborhoods that are underfunded, over-policed, and suffocating with the systemic racism and white supremacy. In a word, we can't breathe. The Boston public school system, the same system that I work for, has endured decades of systematic underinvestment despite continued attempts to downplay the lack of underfunding. I have seen schools lose resources, teachers, paraprofessionals, librarians, after-school programs, and social programs. Schools are supposed to be places where we go to develop ourselves. But when our schools are systematically underfunded and robbed year in and year out, we deny our children access to the arts, to the enrichment, to the nurses, to the school psychologists, to the counselors that they deserve. So, like my sister said, arming teachers and adding more police to our school will not create more security. It will only reinforce the already existing criminalization of our youth and the militarization of our schools. In this country, we invest more in arms and tools of oppression and war rather than expression and human development. And as the old saying goes, they got money for war, but they can't feed the poor, right? So I'm here to say that from Chicago to Boston to Detroit to West Virginia to New York City to Oklahoma, teachers and community members are rising up and speaking out against this system that continues to put profits above people, and we know the NRA loves their profits. We, the teachers, demand that all of our children be able to attend schools that are fully funded with wraparound services. The state continues to fail. It continues to fail to adequately invest in our schools. In recent years, they failed to reimburse our public schools for the diversion of public funds, right, that go to privately controlled charter schools. And this leads to a lack of resources for social and emotional supports to, one, help students deal with the trauma of gun violence, and two, to mitigate that gun violence, and including suicide by young people. So we're not out here to ask for any prayers. We're not out here to ask for any more rhetoric. We're not out here to ask for any more pontification from politicians that are sitting in the pockets of the NRA. Because we understand that this is not going to end in one day. This is not going to end with one protest. This is not going to end with one call to your senator, to your governor, or whoever it may be. We need to build a massive movement of millions of people that are independent of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. We need a social force that can force the government to meet our demands, right? So I end with this. We must remember the words of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We must remain outraged, but we must continue to build and organize. He says, human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every superficial look at history reveals that no social advance rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. The tireless exertions of passionate concern of dedicated individuals. Without persistent effort, time becomes an ally of the insurgent and primitive forces of irrational emotionalism and social destruction. This is no time for apathy, for complacency. This is a time for vigorous and positive action. Because right now, it's the third night that our people in Sacramento are out here demonstrating in the thousands, for our brother Stephen Zoe Clark, who was a father, who was a brother who was shot 20 times. Because if we want to talk about gun violence, let's go there. Let's talk about the 1,000 people that are killed every year by the police, right? So there ain't no power like the power of the people. I'm glad to be here with y'all. All power to the people.